welcome and thanks for being here. So my name is Philippe Magarshack. Some of you who know me, this is probably my 18th DAC, so I've been around a little bit in the EDA industry. I'm at STMicroelectronics and I have a role of CTO there now, after many years being active in R&D and design automation and libraries and all that good stuff in analog and digital. I'm based in Grenoble, France, and I will talk more about Grenoble. But the reason I'm here is actually different this time, so thanks for joining us. I'm also president of the MInalogic Innovation Cluster, and I will talk more about that. But first, before I forget, let me thank our sponsors, and especially SI2 for hosting us today. Thank you very, very much. ST has been a member of SI2 for many years. Myself, I have been sitting on the board of SI2, so I appreciate the work they do, and standards are always a very important aspect of everything we do in electronics and in EDA. Also, I want to thank AEPI, also known as Invest in Grenoble, which is the agency that also helped very much organize this event. And I also want to thank our third sponsor, CEA-Leti, Thierry Colette here. We will talk more about their activities, but this is a strong partner of ours being on ST side and ours being MInalogic. So MInalogic, so France, being France is very much organized in whatever we do. It doesn't look that way these days with this. You may have heard about the strikes, but in terms of the way we manage research, so the government helps to structure research and collaboration. Collaboration happens most times naturally, but also in order for more collaboration to happen, essentially the French government is setting up some way by which collaborative programs are funded in terms of R&D costs by the French government under some quality standards, high level of obviously R&D and research quality. And this body of money is administered by the so-called competitiveness clusters. There is more than 50 of them in France, and one of them, the one I'm talking about, is called MInalogic, is based originally in Grenoble, and is active in the areas of nanoelectronics, microelectronics, photonics, and embedded systems and software. So over the years, this cluster, and you will learn more about it, has gathered big companies. ST is one of them. Schneider Electric is another one. Large R&D labs. CEA-Leti is one of them. But the idea is to foster innovation, not only in large groups, but also and mostly coming from startups and SMEs. And SMEs are spin-offs of those large organizations. A lot of them coming from CEA. But coming from many places. And over the last 10, maybe 20 years, there's been a lot of history and positive history in terms of creating successful startups in microelectronics in general, but most specifically today in EDA. A lot of them are represented today. I will not name specific names because I might forget some, but I see some CEOs of startups that are active in this ecosystem, and you will see some of them on the panel today. This is one of the best kept secret in the industry, but many large EDA vendors, namely the big three, are benefiting from the successful EDA startups. Synopsys, who bought, among others, Atrenta. I see Deirdre here. Atrenta had set up a R&D center specifically in Grenoble, where we have collaborated with ST and Leti in low power design techniques. Cadence has bought some companies. Mentor has actually collaborated with ST and now with CEA in the Institut de Recherche Technologique in photonics and in 3D stacking. So this is a very well kept secret, but we see more and more momentum, and we wanted to share that momentum and visibility with you guys. such that you can get a feel. And if you're interested, of course, we are very, very happy to follow up. So I've been long, but I wanted to share that we are very, very pleased to have. We are very proud of it. We want to share that best secret, and hopefully, after events such as this one, you will get more understanding, and you want to work with us. Thank you very much. Looking forward to a good discussion, and leaving the floor to my dear friend behind me, Jim.
Thank you, Philippe. So, I'm been to more DACs, I think, than Philippe, actually, so it's my pleasure to be hosting this afternoon. So I think as we think about this talk this afternoon, what we really want to know is a lot more about Grenoble. I think there's a lot of misconceptions from people, especially stationed here in the U.S., of what Grenoble has to offer. And so personally, I'm looking forward to hearing what special opportunities we have. I'm also looking at people that actually started a company there and how they were benefited from being there. In terms of what I've done, I've been around for a long time. I've 40 years in semiconductor business. I know it's hard to believe it's been that long, at least from my perspective. These days, all I do is investment. That's all I do. I have about 17 companies in our portfolio. We manage those. And with that, we're always involved in startups. The startups that we have, how many are semiconductor EDA? They're about a third, maybe a quarter. So we're pretty active in the semiconductor space, and EDA specifically. And so I'm always looking for opportunities here at DAC to see what new startups are bringing innovation to the market. So today, I'm looking forward, actually, to hearing what's going on in Grenoble. Have I ever been to Grenoble? Yes, I've been to Grenoble, right? Many times to see Philippe, mostly. And but it's a wonderful place. I mean, I can say that from a visitor's point of view. I've always enjoyed my stays. However, I want to understand what the business climate offers and how that can help me as an investor, right? So, enough of me. I think who's next? Who's next in the line? Philippe. Well, there he is, right? There's some interesting facts about Philippe. One, he's a heck of a public speaker. We've heard that, right? I mean, he's fantastic, The other things, he worked for this outfit called Bell Labs, and there's people that are younger here that don't really appreciate what Bell Labs was rather. Bell Labs was a premier electronics R&D center in the United States. A lot of innovation came out of there. Somebody might have heard about the first, at least the one I always think of, is the patent on the transistor, for example, came out of Bell Labs. So Philippe had a career at Bell Labs, was in the United States, so he understands the cultural differences between us, Americans, and of course what he knows in France. Another interesting fact is Philippe was born in the UK. So, he's a very interesting hybrid of cultures and knowledge. I've enjoyed working with him over the decades, and definitely he's a visionary and he brings a lot to the marketplace. So today we're going to hear more about what he thinks the advantages of doing business in Grenoble are. Next one. Terry's the guy with all the money, right? So I'm standing right next to him. Boy, he's guy. Look, it takes, everybody's tried to create a Silicon Valley, right? You always hear it, Silicon Desert, Silicon this, Silicon France, but how do you really do that, So it takes, I think, a very long-term approach and a very long-term approach to investment and attracting talent and opportunity. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that's going and how you intend to keep that ball rolling today. That's okay. Next one. Here's a guy that, could live anywhere in the world, ends up in Grenoble. Starts a company, does well, gets bought by our friends at Savaco, newly minted Savaco guy, and now the Savaco guys are running their facility in Europe in Grenoble. So I want to hear maybe, hey, how was it starting your startup today? And then also, how's it working for those guys, right? As being those crazy Americans, or whatever the heck he is. I know he's not American, but he lives in America, right? Next one, please. I said it wrong, right? Okay. I'll get it by the time we're done, and I apologize for hurting your word, right? He's another entrepreneur that's done well in Grenoble and the world. Here he is in the United States selling his products. People are using it. You know, he's figured out how to start a business in Grenoble, bring a product to market, and then service all customers around the world. So I'm looking forward to hearing that, right? I think that's, yeah. Who did I forget? Nobody. Okay. So here's what I'd like each one of my august panelists to talk about. Gentlemen, please tell me why Grenoble's the place, why it's happening, why it's the best place in the world to start a business. Terry, let's start with you.
Okay, so, Grenoble is a very famous place for the technology, and have in mind that we design a lot of technology like the FD-SOI technology, the 3D integrations, a lot of innovations concerning the MEMS, concerning this new technology. So thanks to the presence of ST and to the activities of Leti, together we push a new technology, and around this ecosystem we push a lot of new company, and especially we push and we support some startup in order to be able to have the tools to be able to build integrated components coming from the technology to the applications. So this is why Grenoble is a very famous place. And the next step, it is not the moment perhaps now, but the next step for the Grenoble is to be able to address the applications and to be able to have the connection between the application and the technology. Is why we push a lot of innovations and a lot of new partnerships around this kind of technology. Especially we have a new building at Minatech, which will integrate people coming from the software community to be able to work with the people working on the technology. This is a new step for us, and especially for the domain of Internet of Things, and especially the industrial Internet of Things, and the domain of high performance computing and the big data. This is why we, from the very famous place coming from the technology, we push this place in order to be able to address these new domains.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I can go.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So here's the answer, man. What brought you to? Let me say it right. Grenoble. I'm sorry if I'm killing the word, but yeah. So we really want to understand what brought you there first, right? And then why did you stay? And then how's it going?
Okay. So I came to Grenoble for my PhD. So I'm coming from Syria in '92 for my PhD in Grenoble. So then if you have this system which really giving you the opportunity to create your company for a guy coming from abroad, it's really great. So I believe this means a lot of things. It means that the ecosystem is here. And Philippe has already talked about all this, but I believe really from the industrial side, you have STMicroelectronics, you have Soitec, many companies, in the valley. And also you have CA Leti with many other R&D laboratories. And also the third parameter, guys, that you have a lot of funding for R&D. So these guys, they have a great ecosystem. If we have a good idea, they will help you to give this idea to a product level, okay? And they will help you to create your startup as well. And also to give you more information, we have really an interesting statistics about incubation in Grenoble, especially for innovative projects, And only last year there was about 10 new innovative and technology incubated in microelectronics and 4 in EDA, so only in 2015, okay? So this ecosystem exists in Grenoble. I believe it gives the possibility to be nominated as a small Silicon Valley compared to California Silicon Valley. And if you look also at the last point I want to mention here, the last year acquisitions, it seems to me that major actors in the world are aware about what's existing in Grenoble. So just the last month, there was 3 acquisitions from Grenoble by major companies. I myself, I founded Infiniscale, acquired by Silvaco 6 months ago. And just last week, Silvaco decided to acquire another company in Grenoble, and they want really to take advantage of the system in Grenoble and to develop an important R&D center in Grenoble. Okay. So this is what he.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, just let me repeat what kind of abstract what I heard. Right.
Okay.
So you arrive in Grenoble because of the educational opportunities, right? Good university, right? And then, as you thought about starting your own enterprise, there were opportunities in terms of funding, grants, whatnot, in Grenoble that helped a young guy start his business, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think those are a couple elements that are necessary for an area to really do. So I would argue the part that Silicon Valley has forgotten, they don't fund anybody, right? So there's definitely an advantage in coming to Grenoble, right? So thanks. Can you share your story?
Actually, my story is a bit different compared to Firas one. Personally, I used to be associate professor at the Grenoble University.
Yeah.
So I was running a research team, and so I was doing research 15 years ago.
We call those PhD students slaves.
Exactly.
We call those slaves.
They were actually good students doing research work, and then I was doing kind of collaboration with STMicro, etc. And we found out that the technology made sense to be brought, to the market.
Like a commercial.
Exactly. And the unique thing in Grenoble is that when you are a researcher and you want to build your company, you take zero risk to do it. Why? Because the government endorse researchers to found their companies, and suppose it doesn't work, you can come back to the university.
Yeah.
And this is something unique that
yes, I would say so.
Absolutely. So then I went, as a founder of De Facto, and then we had VCs who helped us, in building the company, and then we started our first business.
You mean like the build a company in terms of infrastructure,
exactly,
those kind of things,
hiring engineers, etc. Go to the market, and then we found out that the technology makes sense.
Yeah.
And now we are in business now since 15 years.
Yeah.
The company is profitable, doing good. So the summary of maybe this short experience is that even if you come from the educational background, you have the chance to build a company, running it, and because you have also this kind of environment that helps.
Yeah, okay. So for a point of clarification, right?
Yeah.
So you're an academic, right? You've got some cool technology that you see commercial opportunity, and so you turn to the local folks, and they say, hey, great, well, we can help you get some money, some grants and whatnot.
Right.
But we also have a building you can be in.
Exactly.
We got finance people that can help me manage my business, and we can help you, or rather teach you, to be a business entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just James, to emphasize on this, before building the company, when we get out from the research lab, we spent almost 2 years preparing the company. Be involved in this incubation environment, doing the market assessment, etc. So absolutely.
Well, look, I know I've done a few VC-backed companies. Me being one of them occasionally. Yeah, no one gets 2 years and no money. So that's a huge advantage, I think, in terms of starting a company in Grenoble. Yeah, thanks. Philippe, you're the pro at this. You've been there for a bit. Yeah. From ST point of view, but let me ask you a different question. It's more on social stuff, right? So we have a perception, it's probably wrong, it's probably old, that there's significant social cost in France, and it's hard to exit a company in France because we have the overburden of the social cost. This is a perception that's often shared or talked to me by a lot of people. So anyway, please enlighten me.
Okay, so yeah, I'll talk to that. I just wanted to complement my neighbor's comments on one ingredient that I've heard over and over that it comes as a surprise for companies, especially from the US, is the the quality of the talent pool, the PhDs, the engineers, and combined with that, the stability of this talent pool. So I was chatting with my friend Joy Bose from Atlanta, and he started a R&D team in Grenoble. You know, I helped convince him, obviously, but all of us helped. Serality, Thierry helped as well, among others. And he took a chance by saying, okay, I'll hire people on French contracts and do this partnership with Serality. Of course, he was working with ST from a long time, so he knew there was advantage to the proximity. But he, after a few years, his experience was that he was able to find talent in that ecosystem that he could simply not find in other places in the world. It's not that they were cheaper or whatever, which they are because of the R&D fundings by the French government. But it is that they simply were the best for the particular combination of mathematics, physics, and theoretical body of knowledge that he could find together with computer science. And not only that, but he could also retain them. And 2-3 years down the road, they were still there, still passionate, and still working in the same company. And he was kind of surprised being from Silicon Valley. And one of the ingredients, obviously, why people are so stable is because of this lovely environment. It's too bad we don't have a photo of the French Alps, you can imagine.
Yeah.
But seeing those mountains every day, and then every weekend you can go skiing, you can go hiking, you can go enjoying, and then typically the commute to work, as I was mentioning earlier, is at least 10 minutes, which is a lot, but you can live with it compared to 1 or 2 hours in other places in the world. Many ingredients. So that these are the pluses. Okay, now sometimes yes, you have to pivot in your company. Shit happens, and what do you do about that? So first of all, we are in this ecosystem. So when a company goes, has difficulty and has to downsize, there's lots of other opportunities around, lots of partners. There are ways to actually transfer engineers from company A to company B on a temporary basis that are facilitated by French law, and eventually people know each other and they know the talent. So there are ways to work around the fact that yes, it is more complicated to let go a person in France than in the US. It is not orders of magnitude more complicated. It essentially is different. But specifically in Grenoble, because we have this, I would say, people that know each other for many years, 10 years, 20 years, we work with each other and are able to help each other in times of difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from personal experience with Atrenta, right? So, yeah, the board of Atrenta, like a lot of Americans, we don't really know. And so we were fortunate to have a CFO that was actually from France, and Bert Clements, and Bert was able to really enlighten us in terms of what we could do in Grenoble. So yeah, I agree with Philippe. I think it's a misperception that if you have interest, you should definitely talk to a guy like this, and he can straighten you out, right? And so I'd recommend it. We've done it, and actually it was a very good thing for us. And it worked out because those guys, Synopsys, bought us, right? Thank you, Synopsys. Well, let's talk. I'm a young guy. I'm a graduate student. I got my PhD, okay? And I got this idea that I'm going to use, deep learning techniques to solve the paradox of timing and energy. So I come to you and say, hey, I want to start this thing. I got my PhD. My professor will vouch for me. Philippe says it's a good idea. What happens? What does happen?
Okay, so if people come with a new idea and want to work in the ecosystem, we can say of course we study what this technology is able to bring to the ecosystem, and we work together, we propose a project, and we exchange the project with the community of MInalogic, with ST of course, but with a lot of small company, and we will try to find a funding for this project, and MInalogic can support this kind of project, and due to this support we will be able to have a first project when we're working on this technology, and we are able to deposit some patent on the technology and to have some proof of concept. It's the first stage of what we call the first innovation, the first project to have the first IP on this domain. And after that, when it is running correctly, we will work directly with the industrial partner of the ecosystem in order to transfer this technology, the background of the foreground, to the interesting partner in the ecosystem in order to have this capability for this industrial partner to make business based on this technology. And this year we did a lot of study concerning what we did during the past year on this topic, and it took about 10 years from the new ID, from the ID coming from a PhD to the industrial transfer for a lot of domains, the radio frequencies, the MEMS designs, etc., etc. So, due to the fact that we have capability of funding, local funding for this kind of technology, we are able to deposit some patent on this technology and to bring this patent to the industrial partner, or we are able to create a startup in order to have industrial success on this technology.
Thanks a lot. This question for you two guys. One, I got a professor, one, I got a graduate student. This is awesome, right? Hey, in the United States, when I invest in a company, I want to have a competitive edge that I can maintain over time. I'm a small company. There might be a big company around me. I want to have patent protection or legal protection so my idea doesn't get taken by somebody, right? So, in the United States, what I usually do with my startups is we always look at the patent portfolio and go after patents. Tell us about a little bit about your experience, you know, in France and Grenoble specific, protecting your IP.
Myself and my experience, I don't really believe in a complete protection by the patent. Okay, so in fact, the approach that I personally selected, it's a compromise between patents and let's say home protection of the
trade secret.
Yeah. So I mean, the last let's say technology, which was really of great interest for many companies, but I mean, especially for Silvaco, it was not really patented here. So
yeah, I think that might be true for EDA, generally true for EDA companies, but IP companies different, right? So did you get patents?
Yeah, maybe just a small comment on the IP protection. I mean, for my side, I mean, it was a natural way to do or to protect the technology, you know, when before creating. So what is nice in France is that you have the financial support when you start your startup. Yeah. To, you know, get this first protection.
Well, does the financial support also include legal support?
Yeah, it includes the legal support. It includes all, you know, the costs that, you know, as a new startup, you will need to, you know, make this first protection and then go to the market. So this is what we get from our side.
Yeah, you know, here in the States, what I usually budget for a patent is like $25,000. So if I walk into a startup, like an EDA startup, I'll generally look at doing 4 or 5 patents. So immediately that's 125,000 US, right? So it sounds like you're not overburdened. You can get help from the agency to get those patents.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you know, I'm having fun just going down the road here. So, Philippe, that's a tremendous benefit, I think, as a startup, right? I mean, I don't have to spend all these legal costs to protect my IP, right? You know, and I don't, and then usually to set up a company here in the States, I am a C Corp, they call it, Delaware C Corp, California Corp. That's $40,000 or $50,000 US. So think about it. I got to spend $150,000 on patents, $40,000 or $50,000 to even establish the company. I'm at $250,000 before we even start. So what's it like to anybody? What's it like in France and Grenoble specifically in terms of startup costs legally?
Maybe one comment, and I have to say that because of my MInalogic hat, which is that typically when you're a startup, and I've seen many from my angle at ST as a large company, is one of the things you cherish beyond the fact that you need to have minimum amount of money to live for 1 or 2 years, is to find a teaching customer. And we think that within the ecosystem of Grenoble, we have obviously the 2 large ones, ST being one of them on the industrial side, and CEOLITY being a large one on the research side. And the fact that you would define an R&D project with a teaching customer such as CEA and or ST as such is a good thing, but still you need money to execute this project with this teaching customer. And because this is an R&D project, as a consequence, the French government will fund your effort up to 40% or 50% of the cost to do this project that you would have to do anyway if you want to be pertinent and take your idea from a technology to a product. The only way to do that is to work with customers and adapt it and shape it into a product. And that takes a lot of effort and time and money, and that the money part is taken care of up to 50% by the French government. That's really very valuable. You have the partners here, you have the funding, you have the talent. So we think that's a great combination.
You know what? I don't think Donald Trump's going to do that for us. Right? I think Trump is probably we're going to have to pay him, I think, to start things, right? But how about your experiences?
I would like to comment on this. So each time I was in US and presenting Finiscale and talking with people about its history and the cost, they were really surprised. I said it's unbelievable. Okay, it's I mean, you cannot do this with only this cost, But in fact, the story that a lot, as Philippe just mentioned, a lot of the money is coming from funding.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only VCs. I mean, VCs is the second step. The first time you have the incubator. I mean, you start paying on your own your trips, but then you discover that there's an incubator that will give you some funding to do it, to participate to conference, to do. I mean, if you deposit patents and all this. Okay, and then you have a lot of funding coming from government. And also, I believe that we need to mention an important point when you are working with STMicro and CEOLITY, which is important that they will help you to get your, let's say, technology to a product. And if the first version is not really, let's say, achieving the requirements, they will not be angry on you. I mean, they say, okay, we will give you a second chance, a third chance, and give you experience. So all these parameters can really help to reduce the cost.
Yeah, I mean, that's one, it's great to have the initial funding, but it's also being patient enough to allow it to grow and find its market, for example. Yeah, that's an awesome thing.
So yeah, I want to emphasize this idea of when a startup wants to start a new project. Let's say you have a product and you want to extend this product, okay? And you need to do it anyway, as Philippe was saying. So you need financial support. You will definitely take a risk. So having this financial support of, let's say, almost 50% of the cost, one thing, taking the time to validate this new technology by a user from STMicro or from CEOLITY is so valuable for our startups. And I think most of our startups here did that.
Yes.
If we look at our product list, I mean, we all started by something, and then to be sustainable and having a sustainable business, extended this.
Whatever you start never is the business plan when you exit. It never is, right?
And we know how much in the market we need to know, having something up to date. And so we use this way in Grenoble so much, and we really are taking benefit of it. So I just want to...
No, that's unique, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, believe me, you wouldn't get a second chance in the U.S., Terry, you look like you want to say something.
Yes, just to another element, due to the fact that we are working on the very advanced technology, we invite the startup working on tools in order to design components on this technology to test their tool on this new technology. So we are the first designer on this new technology, and the startup are the first EDA supplier to test their tools on this new technology. And this is very important, of course, for the startup, but for us, for the ecosystem. But as you know, the technology is important, but you need to have an ecosystem with a lot of tools in order to be able to build integrated components on this component.
Thank you. Hey, one question that always is on my mind, and you touched on it, but in the Valley, if I go out and try to do a startup, I got the 5 guys I know, but scaling is very difficult because I got to compete against Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and these guys are graduate students right out of school for, you know, $250,000 US, right? With a whole bunch of stock that, you know, you just can't compete with, right? So it's very difficult to scale in the Valley, right? So I think I heard that we have a big pool of talent, and that if we start a company in Grenoble, that we probably can be assured that we can have enough people to scale, right? So I don't know if that's something you agree with or not, but I'd like to hear your comments. Whoever wants to go. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, the French system in general, okay, it's really, I mean, it's built on this. I mean, myself, I mean, came to Grenoble for my PhD. I mean, you know, it's the French university, the cost is I mean, practically nothing, you know. You can do all your studies and it's a high level quality.
Hey, you know, it's going to be like that if Bernie Sanders gets elected here. College is going to cost nothing. Keep going.
Okay, so all this system what we want, I mean, to talk about, it exists really, and you can really, I mean, you only need to see what happened for me. I mean, the day that I discovered this is incubator. Okay, so I have my PhD, worked for mental graphics to Grenoble. I have an idea, and you have the incubator. I started maybe my first expense is about 1,000 euro, not more. Wow. And then started everything, and it's taking in charge. And then we'll help you to find people and to build your team. And I remember I had 2 grants to hire people working with me.
Wow.
So all this, I mean, from the beginning. So you can imagine all this.
You definitely wouldn't find that in Silicon Valley.
So one compliment, and this is implicit if you looked at the resume of my neighbors to the right, which is that we also have high quality universities and engineering schools located in Grenoble. And by the fact that they are in Grenoble, we obviously have an incestuous relationship with the management of those universities. When I say we, I mean, you know, ST and Leti among others. So we have influence over the courses that are taught and the content of the courses and the type of courses. And yes, it is true that it is hard to motivate, you know, engineering students to go to do hardware design where all the buzz in the is on the software design, but we are one of the few places in France and maybe in the world where there is still a bunch of hardware designers interested to do, you know, analog design, RF design, you know, digital design, and whether they actually do design or they go to EDA, they have this dual competency of computer science as well as design, and that's certainly part of the uniqueness of the environment. So maybe time to open for questions from the audience. What do you think?
I was going to say, well, thanks everybody for answering my questions. I could ask questions all day. Anybody would like to address a question to the August panel? Well, is the question, is that really French wine? Yes, it really is. Right? Let's see, is it time? Yeah, it's pretty close.
So maybe I have a question. I see a lot of known faces and friends and startup-ers that are still startup-ers for some of them, or that have been acquired by larger companies. So anything you would like to add, maybe from your experience, I mean, having been acquired by Intel, or for your experience being still a small company innovating on your own? I don't know.
Power of the mic. You're in charge.
Yes, definitely I can just...
A little closer.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
So definitely I agree with what said today. the Grenoble area has this maybe something that we find in the Silicon Valley. So all these ecosystem. So we have research center, big industry, big companies like ST. Sorry, big company like ST, a research center, small companies, incubator, and all this ecosystem with high quality education. So all this ecosystem is the good ground for the startups and new technology, innovative technologies. But on top of that, we have all these helps, subsidies, and everything that help the technology to emerge. So that's really something that is an advantage, I would say, compared to the Silicon Valley. And probably what we would need is to have more people like you, Jim, investing in French startups.
Yeah, I know, I hear you.
There you go.
Well, for me, I don't look at offshoring as a expense relief, right? When I look at offshoring, from a U.S. perspective, I want to go where the talent is, because talent's hard to find, right? So what I heard here today was a couple things, right? One, Jim, we still teach people physics, right? They're just not a bunch of computer science guys, right? Learning how to program in Python. Not that I'm saying anything about Berkeley or Stanford. Or UT, I guess, right? Second thing, hey, if you have an idea, we have an incubator that helps on a lot of levels, right? It helps us, get them started, give them a chance, fund them initially to see if the idea is a good idea. If it's a good idea, we have follow-on long-term capability, right? So those are two huge things when you're doing a startup. And so there's a question, I think, for myself, but I'll ask it of the audience. And I think probably everybody here is from France, or a lot of people. But how many people consider doing a startup in Grenoble? I mean, well, okay, I would, right? Thanks. I mean, it's worth looking at, right? I got to be smart about this, and I'm all about making money. So it's my opportunity to make money and build some technology. I got to do this, right? I kind of felt that way about Atrenta, but what I learned today was it's an even better idea, right? So, how are we doing? Let's see. Yeah, we're good. All right. Here's what I want to suggest. Please hang around. Looks like they're getting things ready over there. Give us a minute or two. And let's talk a little bit more. And please take the opportunity to meet these guys and talk to them about their experience one-on-one. And I'd like to thank you for listening to us for, the last 50 minutes or so. And please enjoy yourself. Thank you so much.